Greetings, welcome to the next review in our 2020 Cohiba video review series. I'm going to look at, I don't know how to best describe it, a cigar that's, I don't know if it had overwhelming praise, it had a few mixed reviews at the time that it came out. I think 15 years later, it's become what we call in the cigar enthusiast hobby like one of these white whales, because it's just not around anymore, of course. Although when they did come out, limited editions were possibly up until about 2005, 2006. They weren't too differently priced to regular production cigars, and they were available more than just the yearly run. The notes that I've got off this on the cold draw is a very strong baking spice, cedar and cocoa. So I'm anticipating that even after 16, 17 years, this cigar is going to have some cocoa elements to it. But we'll see when I light it up. Again, I do want to thank Trevor for giving me this cigar to review. Thanks, mate. I can't thank you enough, of course. What I'm going to do is I'm going to light it up and come back and give you my initial thoughts in the first third. Like the Cohiba Robustus review, it's got wonderful notes of baking spice off the first few puffs. It's amazing. It's quite something else. Fine baking spice and a bit of cocoa, refined hay, perhaps leather. Just really quality flavors there. Amazing. 16 years and. It's that equates to some of the best Cohiba I've had in terms of flavor. If I compare that right now to the 1966 limited edition Cohiba or the Robusta Supremos from 2014. It's nowhere near as intense, it's nowhere near as spice. It's all settled. It's become a really refined quality cigar. One thing I did want to remember to tell you is, incidentally, I was talking to Alex Groom, proprietor of Cuban Cigar website, and what a great job he does for all of us Cuban cigar enthusiasts. We can't thank him enough. But he did tell me that he smoked this 2003 Cohiba Double Corona recently, and it was just an excellent cigar in his opinion. I can see what he's talking about right now. It remains to be seen. It's a long way to go. It remains to be seen how much it changes or how this cigar is going to turn out. Another thing I should say that I could tell you about the cigar is when I looked at it, I thought to myself, it doesn't look that large. I know it's a 49 ring gauge. It's 7 5/8 inches long, or 194 millimeters long. And the time that this cigar came out, in our hobby, this double Corona was thought of as a large cigar. That's changed in the meantime. A large cigar is what you think of a Cohiba Robusta Supremos or a Bahiki 56 or a Hoyo de Montre, La Jolla de Rio Seco. A cigar with a large ring gauge is what we think of as a large cigar. But this was always commonly thought of as a large cigar, this 49 ring gauge by 194 millimeter double Corona. And, over time, it looks more akin to, my Churchill cigars, which are, my Romeo Julieta Churchills, or the, Cohiba Esplendidoses, which, they're 47 ring gauge. This looks like it's shrunk a tiny bit to, 48 or just under 48 ring gauge. It just doesn't seem that big in the ring gauge in comparison to the other cigars that, I tend to have that are regular production. Yeah, it's getting a bit more of those cocoa and leather notes. The refined baking spice is still there. Great flavors. Now, what can I tell you about this double Corona size? The name that it goes by, the common name is double Corona, the factory name Prominentes. Let's differentiate that from another cigar that's slightly smaller, a Parcos, 49 ring gauge by 180 millimeters, or 7 1/8 inch, half an inch smaller. Okay. Now, if we look at Prominentes cigars and Parcos cigars, in the last 20 years or so, there's been 22 special releases of cigars in those two sizes. Okay. 3 limited editions. However, the last limited edition release was this one, the Cohiba Double Corona in 2003. Before that, we had the Romeo and Julieta Exhibition number 2 in 2000 and the Monte Cristo Double Coronas in 2001. Since then, no Double Coronas limited editions. In regards to regional editions, which first came out in 2005, we've had 5. And prior to the special occasion of Sir David Tang passing away, and since the Punch Double Corona was his favourite cigar, the Pacific Cigar Company commissioned a special release, the Punch Sir David as original edition, released it as a Parcos size, 49 inch ring gauge by 7 1/8 inch, or 180 millimeters long. I think in 2018, there were no regional editions in Prominentes or Parcos size, or this size, from 2010. So from 2005 to 2010 we had 4. We haven't had one since, apart from that special release, that 2018 special release. So the rest have all been, humidor releases. I think what I'm trying to say is, enjoy your double Coronas, friends, while we've got them. That's not to say that it's going to go completely out of favour and there'll be none left in regular production. Definitely not. That's not what I'm saying. I've got every confidence that some very traditional cigars that have been with us for a number of years, the Partagas Lusitanos and the Hoyo de Monterrey Double Coronas, the Punch Double Corona, and the Romana Juanes Gigantes. 4 Double Coronas left. This year, Habanos S.A. released a LCDH release, the Hoyo de Monterrey Escogidos, which there aren't many of them around, but exactly why they released it in the Hoyo de Monterrey marker bewilders me. I have no idea, because we've already got a Hoyo de Monterrey Double Corona, so I'm confused. But you could have done that in another marker, but they didn't. We had the San Cristobal de la Habana El Moro, which was a Parcos size, discontinued 2013. We had the St. Louis Ray Double Corona, discontinued 2013, 2014. And the Vegas Urbana Don Alejandro discontinued in 2017, all double Corona. So yeah, at some point this decade we had 7, but we've only got 4 left. So yeah, that's my advice to you: enjoy your cigars while they're the double Coronas while they're around. I'm still smoking wonderfully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in the middle third and give you some more my thoughts of how it's progressing. So yeah, coming into the middle third, it certainly has developed and changed the cigar. Those wonderful baking spice notes aren't as prominent as they were in the first few puffs in the initial third. Instead, what I'm getting is, interestingly enough, like an earthiness to the cigar. Leather and cocoa, they're the main flavours. They're definitely not flavours that I equate with Cohiba. And I did make the point at the beginning's video review that the initial flavours were amongst the very best that Cohiba cigars that I've amongst the very best of cigars that I've enjoyed in the Cohiba market. But just unfortunately with my my flavour profile preferences are it's a good cigar, definitely. Just the earthiness at the moment isn't something I gravitate to, but it's a really good cigar. For the age that it is, it has not expired in any way. No way. And it's still got that, those wonderful, refined notes. Picking up cedar in there. The hallmarks of flavors that are quality. Just for me personally, just that, a little bit of earthiness. Is the main difference between this cigar and perhaps the Cohiba Reserva Selection Pyramides that I enjoyed. But again, in comparison to the 1966 limited edition, which was really rich in flavour, as was the Robusto Supremos, this is not going to overwhelm your palate. And in terms of flavours, in terms of richness, even the Cohiba Pyramides Extra that I had, that was 7-8 years old, was quite rich. This is, I wouldn't say this is rich in terms of strength. It's certainly towards the mild side, going towards mild medium, which is great for 17 years. It's great. Still a slight potency through the nose. When you retrohale, you're getting the those cocoa and leather flavours, not so much spice. It's quite interesting. So it's interesting what I can equate that or compare that to in terms of other Cohiba cigars to make you familiar with what I'm smoking, and perhaps but perhaps it's it's a cross between the Cohiba Maduro line on account of the Maduro shade wrapper and Esplendidus, perhaps. It's the best way of describing what this is. Um, yeah, it's still repeating myself. Smoking really well, nice flavours, very nice. If you happen to have a Cohiba double Corona in your humidor and you've left it for 17 years, we haven't had one for a while, look, rest assured, if it's anything like this, you're going to know that it's still got the flavour and it hasn't expired and it's still got legs. So yeah, despite that slight earthiness, which is diminishing a little bit as I'm smoking now, um, it's still a quality refined smoke. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go into the end third, and give some more thoughts into this cigar. So I'm just entering the final third, and I've just retrohaled just off camera, and it's still got those cocoa and leather flavours. No real extra spiciness in the retrohale. Look, I was just thinking, in comparison to the other double Coronas, the regular production double Coronas, those four regular production double Coronas that I mentioned, the Partagas Lusitanias, the Romano-Juanes Gigantes, the Hoyt Monterey double Corona, and the Punch double Corona. This doesn't smoke like that in any way. And in terms of Cohiba, I'm thinking, look, it doesn't really smoke like other Cohiba cigars. It's very much its own. It stands out on its own in terms of the flavors that blend. I have a slight variance in the burn line, but I'm not going to correct that in any way as per usual. I've only ashed 3 times. The ash has been pretty consistent. The construction's been consistent in this. It's at its periods of refined baking spice notes slightly, and earthiness coming and going. There's a little bit more earthiness now. Certainly picking up in the leather, which is not necessarily a flavour that I'd equate or the word I'm looking for is equate. The words escape me, but equate with Cohiba. Synonymous is a word I'm looking for. It's not synonymous with Cohiba. But it's still certainly has a punch to the flavour still. It hasn't diminished. If you're concerned about the 16 years, whether it's expired, definitely not. It's burnt really well, smoked really well. It's continuing to do so, and look, I'm pretty happy with this. I'm pretty happy to have had the opportunity. Thank you again, Trevor, for this cigar. To have smoked this cigar, just to it helps me on my journey in regards to Cohiba cigars. To compare this cigar in comparison to other Cohiba cigars the many Cohiba cigars that I've enjoyed over the years. We'll just dash that now. But again, in comparison to those other limited edition cigars, it doesn't overwhelm the palate in terms of richness. It's quite refined, and it's smoked really well, and I've been quite happy with it. Yeah, I guess that's what I can say about the cigar for now. Again, look, I hope you've enjoyed this review, as I usually say with all my reviews. I look forward to the next review that I do in the Cohiba 2020 video review series. Until then, look, happy smoking and see you next time.